Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 33. Another 7 curious, interesting things I saw last week. So let's crack on. First one is the visual Mandela Effect. So this is, if you didn't know what the Mandela Effect is, this is people who are convinced they have seen things or convinced of things en masse. So in this case, Mandela, everybody is convinced, or a lot of people are convinced, that they saw the footage in the 1980s or of the 1980s of Nelson Mandela's death in prison, whereas he actually died in 2016 of a respiratory illness. So how does this happen en masse? So there is a paper that's really interesting about how this might happen. Its conclusions are that not really sure, but the commonalities are really interesting. So, for instance, I won't give it away completely, but I'll pick on Pikachu. Which one is the correct Pikachu? It's probably it's the one on the right-hand side, because he always has the black tail. That's not true. It's not that one at all. So there is this really interesting difference between people just getting it wrong and guessing, and everybody guessing the wrong one more often than not, and that's what's actually happening here. So this is really interesting for people like advertising. If you can embed, or if you can even use a false memory somehow within your work, that is quite interesting. And likewise, if you are trying to figure out how politics is manipulated or those sorts of things as well, then this is also interesting for you. But I'll let you read that one. That's the visual Mandela Effect. This is the obvious, now you mention it, of course this was coming, but I didn't think of it. Update of the week. So this is Ring. So this is Amazon Ring doorbells. If you haven't seen those, it's the doorbells with the cameras in them, hooking up with MGM and their production partners Big Fish to create a sort of candid camera show, or whatever your reference point for one of these sort of shows is, of found footage from doorbells. So you would, I guess, submit your Ring doorbell footage of people tripping up, or cars hitting other things, or cats doing funny things in your porch, and it will get displayed on the program. So this was going to be hosted by Wanda Sykes. It is currently in production, I think US only at the moment, but there you go. So interesting that these sort of technology things, all of a sudden people are scrabbling around for new formats, and of course this is a brand new format, but it's a brand new way of looking at a format with these kind of Ring doorbells specifically. There you go. So Ring Nation, look out for it. In another sort of weird partnership with Big Tech, so this is actually not F1, and I put it in quotes to be very careful about that. This is not actually endorsed by Liberty Media in any way, but this is Modern Day Warfare, Call of Duty, Modern Day Warfare 2, the next one coming out. So this is out in October, I think it is. So they previewed one of the tracks, well, I should say one of the maps. So this is actually based on the Marina Bay circuit in Singapore. It is a real track. It is by the looks of it, exactly the track. And there are these kind of maybe sort of cars that aren't exactly Formula One cars, but they look like them. So there's an orange one that looks a bit like a McLaren. There's one that looks a little bit like a Red Bull. There's one that looks a little bit like an Alpine, for instance. So that's kind of interesting. So it's not the first time we've seen this tie-up between Call of Duty and, let's say, Formula One, because Lewis Hamilton has appeared in one of the games before, not as a playable character, but at least has appeared in the game. So yeah, so this is, I think, available on demo at the moment, but will be in the full thing, I think, October this year. So what actually is it is a playable map, so you can use this for doing your normal Call of Duty stuff and shooting and sniping and team stuff. There are no F1 Formula One logos anywhere to be seen, and there are no real names in there by the looks of it as well, but kind of interesting. So there you go. There's nothing to stop them doing a deal with the circuit themselves or using a physical location that actually exists, but there you go. Interesting. Of course, this was going to happen, part 272. So this was the BlenderBot 3. So this is Facebook, or Meta's own AI chatbot. So it was released for people to play with it. And what it is it learns from people. It has been trained on data from the internet, and therefore you can have a chat about sort of quite nuanced topics. It knows how to interact and ask the next question, that sort of thing. So they're trying to make it indistinguishable from human chat where possible. And of course, because it's been trained on data from the internet, it started spouting conspiracy theories and anti-Semitism almost straight away. It even had a view on Mark Zuckerberg when asked. So he said, you know, he's a good businessman, but his business practices are not always ethical. And likewise, there was a whole chat that a journalist, I think it was, had about anti-Semitism and about the Jewish race and about business in the USA. And it was like, okay, cool. A lot about Donald Trump and the stolen elections as well. Therefore, these were all absolute calamities in the press. About 3 or 4 days later, 5 days later, something like that, all of a sudden those questions didn't elicit the same result. So if you did try to talk about the stolen election for Donald Trump conspiracy theory, then it would essentially do the hairdressers, oh, go anywhere nice on holiday, or oh, look, there's a badger, and try and just deflect it. So it wouldn't actually answer it at all. So it's now sort of semi-aware, shall we say, of tricky conversation. It doesn't have them. So interesting that now that we've almost picked the scab off that at the beginning and we can see what's underneath it, there's like a big if this then that statement going on with this chatbot. I dare say, if controversial, move on. However, that is BlenderBot 3, US only at the moment. If you try and use a VPN, it'll catch you out because Meta know you're even using a VPN. There you go. In case you missed it, the XL, well, I don't know whether these were actually this week, but they certainly were on ESPN 8, the Ocho. It was 24 hours of really interesting sports, everything from fling golf to stone skipping. Baddest bench I thought was interesting as well. So this really caught my eye. Only my friend Kaz was really into this. I think was also in the earlier heats of this, trying to figure out how to be a world champion at Excel. So this is the sort of business software. So there was a team of 10, I think it was, maybe 8, who were competing for the Excel All-Star Battle Championship. This was recorded excerpts, I think it was 30 minutes, were on ESPN 8, along with those other sports I mentioned. Really, really interesting. There's a 2.5 hour video out there where if you really, I dare you to try and sit through it. However, if you're really into your financial modelling World Cup, this was one of the events that will get you to the finals. How they're given challenges and they have to essentially traverse Excel spreadsheets and do really, really cool things. They even created an 8-bit game, platform game, using Excel during the competition, which I thought was amazing. Check it out. The point of this is really that those niche sports that you might have seen on the internet are growing in stature. You might have just seen as videos or TikToks, whatever, and now making it to streaming platforms and getting the time in the air, really. So that's really interesting. Leap seconds. Let's talk about leap seconds. And thank you, David, for this one. It was a really interesting rabbit hole to go down. So this one is really more about how do big tech protect themselves against essentially changes to their networks that could cause havoc. Now in 2012, Reddit was taken pretty much out by a leap second. Now what a leap second is because the Earth is slowly stopping, it will be a couple of billion years before it actually stops, and we'll all be dead before then. However, it is slowing down, and therefore days are taking slightly longer, so therefore we just need to add like 0.1, 0.9 seconds every couple of years. We don't really know why it slows down in different ways. It's a bit like an ice skater. If you put your arms out, you'll spin slower. If you bring them in, you'll spin faster, and therefore we don't really know whether it's the amount of water distributed around the world, but it is unpredictable. So every now and again, scientists will say we need to add 0.325 seconds to the universal time clock. So that's causing issues. So if UTC changes every now and again, all the servers around the world now have weird timestamps on them. As you can see, if you add it, you might even get 23, 59 and 60 seconds as a timestamp, which is a nonsense. That should be 00. But we're also seeing is relatively often then some days are actually shorter than others. So what we're actually doing is we're seeing times being skipped. So if it's expecting a 59 in a timestamp, it will never see it, and therefore that might have issues when you're trying to figure out what offsets are, and all of a sudden they come back negative. Anyway, so you've got big tech all clumping together to say, look, can we stop doing this? It's not the best thing in the world. So there might be this internet time version, which is different to UTC, which is what a lot of scientists, astronomers, for instance, all refer to, what currently computers refer to. So just so you're aware, that's going on in the background. Lots of big tech are saying, can we just stop adding leap seconds to things and maybe have a different time for servers that stops us having to change it every now and again. There you go. And finally, this is Dutch designer Max van Leeuwen, and I hope I've said that right. has created an augmented reality portal gun. Now, I've seen these virtual reality versions as well, but this is really nicely done. So I think Max is actually, let's say, a digital artist, but is an ambassador for Snap, so Snap's AR program, and has created this using Metascan 3D and Snap Lens Studio. So what I presume is going on here is he's used the Metascan 3D to go around his flat, scan each one of the rooms as a 3D model, put it all together in Lens Studio, and then create this. If I look through a wall, it technically knows what's the other side, and it can show you the 3D model from your viewpoint. So I think that's what's going on here. So it's relatively simple to do, but it's really nicely done. There you go. So if you're into the Portal franchise, then this is a cool thing that you might be playing with soon. Love that. Well done. More of that, please. Hopefully that was useful. Hopefully that was interesting. If it was, give it a like, share it with somebody lovely. I might not be doing this next week because I'm on holiday and I might not have access to the internet. Simple as that. I might be enjoying myself by the beach. However, hopefully it was useful, and I will see you the next time.